Hey guys, Sri Lankan Sammy, welcome to 2025. Wow, cannot believe it is already 2025. It's been 3 years, coming up on 3 years since I've moved to Sri Lanka. Absolutely loving it, can't believe it. Today, we are going to talk about South Korea. People are always asking me, how did I survive 15 years in South Korea? Why did I leave? Why did I go? Join me, why don't you? And we're going to talk about that. I'm Sri Lankan Sammy. Retire with mom and dad. We'll see you in a moment. So, South Korea, why don't I take a step back? I am a Canadian citizen, Sri Lankan citizen, and I have a Korean permanent residency. 2007, I got divorced, and I was not happy in Canada. Not happy at all with my life. I was an executive at Bell Canada. I've been working there for 20 years. Hated my job. I was a salesman. Hated the stress. I was over 100 kilos. And I was heading straight for a heart attack. I was always happiest traveling. I was always happiest traveling. So I was looking for a job traveling, couldn't find one, and a friend of mine, Canadian Korean friend, said, you should come to Korea. With your education and your background, you could get a job as a teacher teaching adults, making really good money. So I'm thinking. So 2008, what is that? Bugs. 2008, the spring of 2009, I decided, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. Wow, what is all these bugs, man? I decided I'm gonna take the plunge and go ahead and pack my bags. So I sold everything, bought myself a one-way ticket, no visa. I don't speak the language. I knew 2 people in the country. Didn't speak the language. Didn't know anything about Korea except for what I saw on MASH. Did a little research on it online, obviously, but didn't really learn much. So I landed in country, and I figured out that within the first week that I was never leaving. I got my first job probably, I think it was 11 days after I landed. I didn't even start looking until I got there. I probably should have done a little bit more hunting before, but it was through connections that I got the job. Started teaching, started making a killing. And I wasn't even working hard. I was working like 10 hours a week. And I was partying, and I met the right people. In my opinion, the right people. I met my friend Johnny who was a bar manager, and he ended up becoming a bar club owner. So he introduced me to other people. I got involved with the entertainment industry, and I was able to parlay that. So eventually, because I was networking all the time, I was teaching adults. I never taught kids. I was always teaching adults because that's where the money was. And to teach kids, it requires a hell of a lot more paperwork, which I didn't have at the time. So teaching adults was so much easier. And as a man, at my age, they weren't really keen on it. So then I was working for CEOs and executives, and Asiana Airlines was a global sponsor of the Olympics in Korea. So they needed somebody to run their marketing. So they needed a whole bunch of people, foreigners. So I was one of a group of 5 foreigners who was helping run their marketing campaign to ensure cultural sensitivity. So I did that for 4 years, and because I did it for 4 years, that qualified me to apply for permanent residency. So within my first 5 years, I qualified for permanent residency. Today, permanent residency is really hard to get because they kept upping the requirements. When I got my permanent residence, you only needed level 1 Korean. Today you need level 5. And it takes 5 to 10 years to get your permanent residency. They made it much more difficult. The salary qualifications, etc., etc. I was grandfathered in. So I got a 5-year visa, which expires next year. I doubt I'm gonna renew it because you have to go there and you have to do a whole bunch of paperwork. I don't want to do it. I don't need to. So I will just find an online job that I can continue doing or work under the table. Who knows? I don't know. We'll figure it out in 2 years. So anyway, so I parlayed my permanent residency into a club job. And because I had the right visa, I was able to get a salary job. There are a lot of people, foreigners, who work in clubs in Korea. They work as bartenders, waitresses, hosts, marketing, but they get paid a salary, or they get paid a piece, like a piece of somebody's spending. Or if they bring in 100 people, they get, $100 or something like that. So that wasn't what I got paid. I got a salary, and I got a ridiculous amount of money. So a teacher makes about $2,500 a month. I was making part-time $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and these kids are working 40 hours a week. I was working 10 to 20 hours a week and making that more than that. And then on top of that, I got $3,000 or $4,000 a month from working at the club. So I was doing very, very well in South Korea. If you are a highly educated educator, you have your certificates, you have your licenses, you can get a job at one of the high-end schools. And when I mean schools, I mean academies, the cram schools, the after-school tutoring schools, or the daycare kindergartens. Okay, and you can make really, really good money there, like upwards of $5,000 a month, with an apartment included, with food included, everything except your cell phone and your electricity and your extra food. But those schools, you work your butt off. Oh my God, there's a lot of work involved. But those are the Gangnam, the Beverly Hills schools. Those pay very well, but you got to work your butt off. I worked 2 part-time jobs. One ended, and I could transport and arrive at the other one when it started. And I got paid full-time at both of them because I was a permanent resident. I had the right visa. And here's the issue in South Korea is that if they need a teacher, a full-time teacher, that teacher has to work 40 hours. They have to, by law. Even if they're not, they have to be in the school, part of the visa. That's part of the rules, okay? So even if during vacation, or if the school's closed, you still have to show up and sit in the classroom for the 8 hours. It's called hot desking. Hey guys, Sri Lankan Sammy, thanks for joining. I want to take a quick moment and talk to you about the channel. I really appreciate you taking the time to support the channel, clicking like, sharing, and commenting. But I need to ask you for a little bit of help and helping me get the channel up and running a little bit better. please click the link down below if you want to support the channel and buy me a coconut. What I will do is I will match the dollars and I will go out and buy fresh fruit and vegetables from local farmers on the roadside. You guys have seen me do that before. I'll continue doing that by supporting the local economy. Passively, if you would like to, you can just watch a commercial. I am monetized, so if you watch an ad all the way through, a couple, that would really help the channel. And even more so, click the link of the ad and let it pop up on your computer. Leave it open for a few minutes. That would really help the channel passively. And one last thing, if you could please just put a comment, an emoji, one word saying hello, saying hi, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Vesak, Happy Poya, whatever it is, whenever it is, I truly appreciate it. Sri Lankan Sammy, loving you all. We'll see you all on the other side. Now, if they have an extra couple of classes, they cannot hire a teacher to come and work those extra classes from overseas. They cannot hire a visa teacher because there won't be enough hours for them. They can't take away hours from somebody else as well. So they're in a catch-22. So that's where I come into play. Having a permanent residency and being having education background, I can go in and I can work those 4 hours. But they know they have to pay me because they can't get anybody else. They're stuck in the rock and a hard place, and I have all the power. So that was one of the benefits that I got, was that I was getting huge salary for that part-time work, and then I would go to another school and do the same thing. So I was, for a couple of years, I was just killing it. And then it all came crumbling down with COVID. So, yeah, COVID ruined a lot. But it's kind of saved my life, because I would have died of alcohol poisoning or something if I was still there working in the club. That was just too much for a man my age. Check out the videos from my years ago, me in the clubs and stuff. It was way too much fun. Drinking every night, partying. It was way too much, but I loved it. It was the best time of my life. I would never exchange that for anything in the world. I wish I could go back and maybe exploit that a little bit more to make more money or to make a different career. I could have, and just I've always been too lazy, not motivated. But now I have the motivation to succeed, and 2025 is going to be my year where I retire. So, other thing I want to point out about South Korea is, as a man, as an older man, an educated man, I achieved respect. It is a patriarchal, ageist society. So when I was at the club, they all knew, well, I spoke Korean. They all knew that they're all kids. They're all 20-year-old kids, right? They all knew I was hired by the owner. They all knew who I was, because I was popular, because I'd been there for so long. Everybody knew who I was. I mean, come on, this face. How can you not see this face after 2 years? It's a very transient expat population, right? Because after 1 year, 2 years, the teachers go back home because they have family. I didn't. I stayed. So I got known. And so the employees knew who I was. And when I got hired, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, he's Sajangnim. He's, the owner type of thing. He's older. So if you ever watch those, Japanese or Korean movies where the old guy stands up and everybody bows, that was me. That was me. I would show up at the club around 11 o'clock. It's been open for an hour. Everybody's bowing. I walk in. I go see the manager. I get my drink tickets for the night, or I go see whoever's the line manager. I get my drink tickets for the night. Any instructions regarding super VIPs that are coming, or book reservations. I check my I don't have a guest list. People have to call me before they come, and I have to walk them in. That was part of my thing. Getting them in through the front door was part of the pomp and ceremony, and people love that. which made it different. Instead of just being on a guest list and you show up and you line up and you get in, you get treated as a VIP. That's what made my job, what made my club different and what made me different. People love that experience. Who doesn't like being treated like a VIP, right? In front of everybody else. So I made it a habit, a point. Plus I could keep track of who was coming and who was there, so I could invite them back when we had a special event. So yeah, you know, I got treated with respect. So when I went anywhere on a day off or whatever, whenever I went and people recognized me, I got treated as a VIP. Or when I showed up, you know, they know who I am. When I made a reservation at a restaurant or a place on a date or something, I always got treated well. And I remember after I left the club, or the club closed, got sold, and I went out, the VIP, I said this story before. I went out on a date, and I took the girl after dinner. We went for drinks, and I text messaged straight through, and she's like, "What just happened here? They're calling you boss." I'm like, yeah, I used to work with some of them. She didn't know who I was. And so it was always an amazing thing. So if you can have the education, if you have the connections, you can do well. If you're younger, you gotta work for it, okay? It is an ageist society. It is a patriarchal society. So if you're female and young, you're at a disadvantage. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not right, but it's not my country. I can't change it. Not a citizen. Just a fact. It's very safe. Very, very safe. As safe can be. You have to be careful no matter where you are. And I think the most important thing is that if you can assimilate, if you can learn the language and and respect the culture, you can go far. Because I spoke the language and I showed deference to my seniors and I showed respect, I was treated very well. I was given fringe benefits that nobody else got, or none of my friends. They were always wondering, how did I get this? Like, some of my clients, I got gifts like a phone, very expensive cell phone, a 1-year membership to a luxury car service, hotels, like staycations. When I worked at one of the high-end cram schools, the gifts I got for Teachers' Day and for birthdays and Christmas, like Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, like all brand name stuff. Like, these are super rich people, and they knew how old I was. So they all treated me with respect because I was older than they were. Like, these are moms and dads who are in their 30s. And here I am at 45, 50 years old. And, even my boss would bow down to me. And I'd be like, don't do that in front of the other teachers. It's not, I don't like it. But it benefited me so many times. The connections I had. And that's just my experience. You can have these things. You have to assimilate. I think that was the biggest bonus that I had, was the ability to assimilate. I learned the language very quickly. I didn't fight the system. You worked within the system to benefit myself. So, yeah, that's basically it. You can do that in any country, but this is South Korea. This is what I was talking about. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. Please don't forget to join us on Sundays for the live stream. Sunday mornings, Sri Lankan time. Join the chat, why don't you? Hang out with me and we'll talk. Support the channel. Click below. Click the link. Join us, why don't you? I'm Sri Lankan Sammy, retired with mom and dad. We'll see you all on the other side.